How's it going, everyone? This is Midnight Strike 3625, and you are watching the much anticipated album review of The Book of Souls, the new Iron Maiden album that just dropped last Friday. So, this album's been seeing a lot of positivity. Will my opinion be the same? Well, keep watching and you will find out. So, this is Iron Maiden's first album in 5 years, and a lot of it actually seems to take influence from their previous album, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, which was released in 1988. Previous album from a different era, I should say. It wasn't right preceding the A Book of Souls, but this album is really nothing to scoff at. It's probably one of their best albums yet. Honestly, I don't say this lightly. I do heavily enjoy such classics as Power Slave, Number of the Beast, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, and, newer albums like Dance of Death and Final Frontier. Those are probably my two favorite of new albums from Iron Maiden. Now, with this album, going into it, I kind of thought, Bruce can't exactly sing very well anymore. I mean, he can hold a tone, but he sounds like he's struggling a lot. And why shouldn't he? I mean, he's gone through a cancer battle, he's about 60-some years old, and not a lot of bands can really hold the same youthful spirit or the youthful tone that they once could back in, say, the late 80s, early 90s, early 80s, even some bands in the early 70s. So, I mean, you don't really see any bands sounding exactly the same, maybe with the exception of Aerosmith, where he has that same kind of raspiness that he had all along, and by him I mean Steven Tyler. He can't necessarily sing as bluesy as he could, but then again, that subject is for an Aerosmith video. Right now we're talking Iron Maiden, and, even though Bruce Dickinson can't hit the high notes, he doesn't try to all that much here. He kind of relies on more of the raspy grit that his voice had held in such albums as Dance of Death, the remake of Wrathchild, as well as some of the older albums in the early 90s as well, like on No Prayer for the Dying. I know a lot of people don't like that album, and Fear the Dark. So, with this album, you get a little bit of a mix of everything. With The Final Frontier, a lot of my complaints stem from the fact that Bruce Dickinson, even though he has the same tone, he can't hit the same high notes. And he tried to all too much, all too often, and it kind of stunted my like for Final Frontier for a very long time. I actually picked it up in 2011 and started listening to it again a year after it was released, and found out I absolutely loved it. Now, with this album, like I said, they improve on a lot of different things. One, the guitar work is practically fantastic. It's practically masterpiece work, and everything pretty much comes together where it needs to be. It's not too simplistic. It's not too progressive. It doesn't sound too convoluted and weighed down and bogged down by everything, but especially in songs like Empire of the Clouds, the longest song they've ever written, at 18 minutes and 3 seconds. Now, especially with this song, there's a lot of different variation in the guitar melody, and they even add a piano in the beginning. It's just a really awesome sounding song in general, and, it doesn't sound like they're going too far with it, like a lot of songs. I mean, hell, it's kind of like Dream Theater, where Dream Theater put out a freaking 42-minute long song, and it sounded just absolutely fantastic. It didn't sound like anything didn't need to be there. And that's really my only complaint about some progressive metal is, they just keep going on and on and on for the sake of going on. And that was one of my complaints about Seventh Son. Even though I absolutely love that album, some of the songs seem to drag on for no specific reason. Now, there is a few instances in this album where it just seems to drag on, but the guitar work is so fantastic it just doesn't even matter. Bruce's singing is pretty much right on, spot on, right on the mark, except for in Speed of Light. He tries to hit those high notes, kind of like he's singing Number of the Beast, but as we all know, he cannot hit those notes. And like I said, all respect to Bruce, he sounds a lot better than, say, Brian Johnson of AC/DC did for a while in the 80s, and then he kind of gained back his voice a little bit. But he sounds a lot better, than some artists do, because, they've lost their voice, basically. So, it is what it is. This is an aging band. They're probably on their way into retirement, but they've had a long and fruitful career. So, with this album, it's not perfect. I actually do have to say that I like The Final Frontier just a little bit more, just because of the fact that some of the songs just seem to go off into nowhere on this album. Just like they just want to play guitar for as long as they can. In some spots, it's like, okay, is this an instrumental or is there going to be any singing involved? You know, the reason why I like Power Slave so much. Power Slave is my favorite Iron Maiden album. The reason why I like it so much is because everything fit together in a way where there was no empty space, I should say. With the exception of Rime of the Ancient Mariner, but that was for atmospheric purposes. But this album, it just sometimes it seems like the guitar bits just keep going on and they're playing for the sake of playing, except for in Empire of the Clouds, of course. One honorable mention that I would have to say is If Eternity Should Fail is my favorite song on here, and of course the shortest song, Tears of a Clown. This one is actually written for Robin Williams, so this was a really weird one going in because I was thinking, okay, you know, Robin Williams was amazing, but an Iron Maiden song written for him, I don't know. I'll go into it with a grain of salt because there was a song on what was it? Worship Music for Dio. It was written for Dio, and I really liked that one. With this one, I was really surprised. It's amazing. Everything up from like I said, the production value, the quality of the guitars, the audible vocal range from Bruce is just spot on. Really, there's no more to say about this. I will give this album a solid 9.8 out of 10. It's not perfect, but it is a masterpiece. I know CKN gave it 100 out of 100, basically a 10 out of 10. I was thinking about it, but then I thought, you know, I do like other albums better by Iron Maiden, and this one doesn't really scream 10 out of 10. It's close, it's a masterpiece, it's a work of art, but I do like The Final Frontier just a titch better, which I would actually rate 9.8 out of 10 as well. So, with that, thank you very much for watching this review. This is Midnight Strike 3625. Keep calm and rock on.